Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight. On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Good evening, this is Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. On the show tonight.
I just don't want other countries to follow us down what I think was a very dark path under the Biden administration.
JD Vance sends us another warning on our dark path of censorship.
When it comes to trans women in prisons, I've personally never worked in a prison, so I can't answer it.
Does reform know what a woman is?
We ain't got no troubles, no reason to complain. 'Cause here in Great Old Britain, we just love it when it rains.
Morning. And should adverts be banned for telling the truth? And we've got comedians answering some crazy cultural conundrums from a live studio audience. But first, the news with Katie Bowen.
Josh, thank you. The headlines at 7 o'clock. US Vice President JD Vance says that the US is in the process of scheduling when Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky can meet to discuss the war between their two countries. JD Vance went on to say during an interview with Fox News that he didn't think it would be productive for the two leaders to sit down before the scheduled summit between the US and Russia in Alaska next Friday. It follows reports from the White House last night that President Zelensky could be invited to those talks with President Trump and Vladimir Putin next week. Ukraine's allies held a security meeting hosted by Foreign Secretary David Lammy yesterday. They're calling for Zelensky's involvement in the peace talks, saying the path to peace cannot be decided without Kyiv. More than 1,100 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel illegally since the new UK-France partial returns deal came into operation during the week. GB News' provisional figures show 281 arrived on 5 small boats throughout today. So far this weekend, 716 migrants have crossed from France. It takes the total who have arrived since the new returns deal was operationalised last Wednesday to 1,119. So far this year, 26,556 small boat migrants have made the illegal journey across the Channel. That figure is almost 9,000 ahead of the 17,638 who arrived at the same point last year. The Metropolitan Police arrested 532 people at a demonstration in support of the proscribed Palestine Action Group yesterday. Of those arrests, 522 were for displaying an item, in this case a placard, in support of a proscribed organisation. 6 arrests were made for assaults on police officers, although none were seriously injured. Charity Amnesty International described the mass arrests under UK terrorism law as deeply concerning. The Israeli Prime Minister has said that his Gaza expansion plan is the best way to end the war and that Israel has no choice but to complete the job and defeat Hamas. Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel's goal is to free Gaza in a press conference this afternoon where he outlined what he called 2 Hamas strongholds in the Strip that he intends to dismantle. Denmark, France, Greece, Slovenia and the United Kingdom called for urgent action and a surge of aid to Gaza in a joint statement today. The UN Security Council has held a meeting this afternoon to discuss the situation in Gaza. A fire has broken out on Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh, with plumes of smoke visible from across the city. The Scottish Fire and Rescue Service said that crews are in attendance, while Police Scotland are advising motorists and pedestrians to avoid the area. The cause of the fire is currently unclear. The city is playing host to the Fringe Festival throughout the month, and Oasis are playing 2 nights at Murrayfield Stadium this weekend. And Crystal Palace have won the Community Shield, beating Liverpool 3-2 on penalties after a 2-2 draw at Wembley. The Eagles have added more silverware to their collection, having secured their first major trophy with the FA Cup glory in May. Those are your latest GB News headlines. Now let's go back to Free Speech Nation.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. This is a show where we cast our gaze across the spectrum of culture, current affairs and politics, doing our very best to bring a bit of common sense to that which has become senseless. Coming up on the show tonight, we'll be debating whether the most famous woman in Britain at the moment, Bonnie Blue, should be platformed after growing concerns over the adult star's influence on young people and society. A woman from Brighton who had Jewish family members murdered on October 7th has been told by police to stop posting about Gaza. She joins us in the next hour. And social media giants face penalties for over-enforcing online safety laws. All of that to come in the next hour. But first of all, my comedian guests this evening are Francis Foster and Miriam Elliott. Hello.
Hello, John.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How are you, Francis? Haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, I'm very good, mate.
On air?
On air, indeed. Yeah, that sounds sinister.
But we're friends in real life. I see both of you actually in real life.
Yeah.
You know, you're my only 2 friends, actually.
Yeah.
in real life. It's a bit sad. I should be saying, do you have a nice afternoon? Neither of you came. There was a big march for the hostages.
Unfortunately.
The only reason I mention it is because what I'm hoping is there was Sky News were doing an interview there, and I was in the background waving. So I'm really hoping that I'm on TV right now.
I mean, some people
don't
call
flip
you
over to find out.
Some people call you a narcissist, Josh. I can't see why.
Yeah, you're not my friend anymore. Right, let's get some questions from our audience. Our first question is from Chris.
Hi, Josh. Are shoplifters scumbags?
Yes, are shoplifters scumbags? A Wrexham shopkeeper has been told by police to take down a sign calling shoplifters scumbags. 61-year-old Rob Davis put the notice up after catching 5 thieves in just 12 months, losing hundreds of pounds to burglary. So this is assault, and this, by the way, you've seen the story.
Yes, I have.
Right? And it was inside his shop, and there is a problem in this country now of shoplifting. The police to go in and spend this time on his this sign as opposed to catching the thieves. Is that just encompasses what's wrong with this country?
No, as we all know, Josh, shoplifters are part of an oppressed minority. More likely to go to prison, more likely to be ostracised by the community, less likely to be in employment, more likely to be in prison. I think it's a correct decision, mate.
Fair enough. I mean, Miriam, you're obviously really into your shoplifting.
Yeah.
Are you offended by being called a scumbag?
Scum person.
Scum person, sorry.
They, them. No, it's just symptomatic of our society giving up on any form of morality.
There we go. Become a low-trust society.
Yeah, no, there's no... If no one says don't steal, then why not steal and make an excuse for it?
Yeah, that seems to be what's going on now.
So, yeah, and that's why the police are arresting people for hurting feelings rather than helping a man protect his shop and his livelihood.
Yeah, OK, there we go. Our next question is from Star.
Hi, was it on?
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
So, should a man be able to help teenage girls to find a bra?
Yes, so I want to ask you about this in a second, Star.
Every day.
That came out wrong. Sorry about that. Should men offer to help teenage girls find a bra? Marks & Spencer's apologised to a mother after a teenage daughter was left distressed when a transgender employee asked if she needed help in the bra section where she'd gone for a fitting. Starview, did you see the story this week?
No, but I've heard about it today. It's interesting. Can I talk?
Yes, of course, yes. As long as you say what I want you to say, yeah.
OK, so I'm just trying to put myself in that situation. So she's a teenage girl. She's gone into
14.
she's gone into Marks & Spencer's looking for a bra, and this person has approached her. Does that person look like a man or a woman? Because they're trans, first of all, yeah? But second of all, it's like, OK, so we know that most homosexual men are more in tune with their femininity and their feminine side, so they may be able to tell her what bra would fit and stuff, but realistically, if we all just... It's not appropriate, whether it's transgender man or whatever, it's just not appropriate for any type of man, trans, whatever, to be offering help to teenage girls.
I'll say two things to that, Star. One is, you're wrong! No. I'll say, first of all, obviously, they did know that this was a man because they identified him, and the fact is most... what we would call trans, I know there's this vision of trans women as, looking like the 99% just look like a bloke
in England, not in Asia though. In England.
OK, well, we'll talk about that after. And but I think the other part of what you're saying is that there's nothing to say that this person was a homosexual at all. Like, most trans women are heterosexual, actually. So, again, I think this is a very dodgy precedent. M&S has apologised, but this person, by the way, worked in a different department on a different floor, and then is going up to a teenage girl and saying, oh, hey, can I help you? I mean, that's just creepy.
Yeah, it is. It's not... I was going to make a joke about it, and I thought, nah, best leave it, mate. But no, it's... yeah, it is. It is really bad. And it looks bad for M&S that they let this happen. And the thing that makes it worse is if it was an adult, it would be bad. But the fact that it was a teenage girl makes it... I mean, it makes it look predatory. It's a terrible look for M&S. It really is.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, how would you... I mean, 14-year-old girl going for her first bra...
I remember that experience. I went through it myself.
Yeah, and how would you feel if
without a transsexual man involved. I was just offended by the mirrors because I could see myself from every angle.
OK, that was probably your rider for a period today, was no mirrors anywhere.
That was hard enough, realising...
But this is incredibly traumatising for this young woman.
Yeah, it's just wrong on lots of levels. Shouldn't have happened.
Shouldn't have happened.
But that's life.
Yeah, well...
No one got hurt.
Well,
I mean, feelings got hurt, but...
I don't know, that seems like a massive red flag to me. Right, let's get our next question. It's from Mark.
Hi there.
Hey, Mark.
Just something that happened about 30-odd years ago was a book was published called The Satanic Verses. Most people only bought it because of the uproar that it caused. I'm now wondering if it's racist to recommend Satanic Verses to anybody as a read.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I guess, is it racist to recommend reading Satanic Verses? So this is a Muslim teacher was suing for discrimination after colleagues discussed the Satanic Verses in front of her. Rabia Ihsan says she was harassed on religious grounds when a colleague raised the Sir Salman Rushdie novel in what she claims was a deliberate attempt to provoke her, incite hatred and create a hostile environment. So... what do you think about this? Is it to even raise the Satanic Verses in front of someone who's Muslim?
Go out and buy a decent book.
Oh, really? Yeah. Have you read the book?
I read it, and it was the most boring read I've ever had.
Yeah. No, fair enough. I read the first paragraph as well. So... but to discuss... just to merely raise the Satanic Verses in front of someone who's a Muslim and that to be seen as some kind of hate crime?
I mean, look, it's absolutely baffling, the first part. The second part is, who gets offended by literature? Do you know, that is the most ridiculous...
this Muslim woman.
Yeah, but it's the most ridiculous thing. Like, I understand to a degree getting offended by jokes or comments. That getting offended by an intellectual discussion about a work of literature is completely bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, Miriam, you publish books.
Yeah.
Do you ever get any kind of negative reaction? Would people ever come up to you and accuse you of a hate crime?
All the time.
Yeah.
Love
I read the last one.
That's why I do it. Well, no, I mean...
Miriam's books are fantastic, by the way, because they're about 4 pages long. It's just my kind
And there's like 3 words on every page.
And,
They're artworks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like brevity. But I haven't read the Satanic. I've read the first chapter like you, and it was really boring. But no, the point is, it's a power play. It's a bit like the man that goes into the shop and with the stealing thing. It's like, oh, I'm so offended, I'm going to censor the discussion, or I'm going to shut down the shop, or whatever. It's a power play. And it's not racism. I don't understand how that's anything to do with. But obviously that boat floated away from the harbour a long time ago.
It's sort of like, I guess they would say, oh, it's a microaggression to just raise this book. She was supposedly in front of... And it wasn't even like they were talking to her. They were just having a conversation. They go, oh, has anybody got any recommendations of books? And then someone was like, oh, well, I started listening to Satanic Verses and I found it a little bit... And just to do that was enough for this person to perceive it as a hate crime.
I mean, if you were literally dancing round her with the book, like waving it in her face, then going, oh, I can understand why she'd be a little bit miffed.
OK.
No, but
You're giving me ideas, by the way. So, look, our final question for the moment is from Anton.
Why can't you throw dildos at a football match?
What? Why can't you throw dildos at sports events? OK. And green dildos, I think. So this is several professional women's basketball games in recent days have been disrupted after sex toys were thrown onto the court, leaving players and coaches frustrated. So, you must have seen this. This is the WNBA, and they're throwing, and basically now they're not allowing people to take in bags, and people are like sneaking dildos in. I don't know how they're getting them in, but and throwing them onto the court, not to like try and hit people, but just because it's more entertaining than women's basketball.
Do you know, I thought you were going to ask me if I'd ever thrown a dildo onto the pitch, mate.
I know the answer.
Yeah. Well, I'm a West Ham fan, mate. I think the reaction would be very different if you did that at the up to...
Also, they're very expensive. I don't want to lose all my dildos.
I find it quite bizarre, on the one hand. On the other hand, this is a brilliant bit of marketing for the WNBA, for the Women's Basketball Association.
True, I'd never even heard of them.
Until green dildos.
I want to see them playing basketball with the dildos over it. To me, it's like a work of artistic genius. It's like incredible.
I mean, there's also there's a funny little sub story here that they took more bets on the colour of the dildo that would be thrown on than the actual game itself. By the way, I just realised that my friend's mum is in the audience.
Oh, sorry. In which case,
Maybe I shouldn't be talking about this.
Yeah, it's an act of patriarchal oppression.
Yeah, absolutely. OK, fine. Right, so next on Free Speech Nation, a woman with a Jewish family has been told by police to stop posting about Gaza on social media. She joins us next in a second.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. Now, stop posting about Gaza. That's what police told Heidi Bachram after she became the target of anti-Semitic abuse on X. The campaigner, whose Jewish relatives were murdered and taken hostage by Hamas during the October 7th attacks, says Sussex police advised her to stop, to avoid controversial subjects like Gaza. I am now joined by the campaigner herself, Heidi Bachram. Hello, Heidi. Hello. Welcome to the show. I just saw you earlier, or the back of you, at the march.
Yes, it's been a really busy day.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining us. So, look, I read this was in the Telegraph earlier today, the story. If you could just tell us what happened, because it sounds incredible.
So I reported online abuse to the police, and I had a good first interview with the first PC that I spoke to, who was very considerate and compassionate. And then he consulted his sergeant, who then rang me back to inform me that it was going to be very difficult to pursue this person because X wouldn't give up their identity very easily, and was sort of generally just trying to dissuade me from pursuing the complaint. And in that conversation, he made a remark that I had never heard from a police officer before, which was that what I was posting about was very politically sensitive topics, and then went on to say maybe I should consider stopping posting, which I had never heard that explicitly before. I'd had a previous PC who had commented that I should come off X, as a sort of safety advice suggestion, but that isn't official police advice, and I know it isn't. So I was really shocked by both being told not to post, but also this idea that what I was doing was somehow at fault.
Yeah, I mean, this is classic victim blaming. Now, I follow you on X. I admire the output that you do. And you basically post, like people were marching today, to free the hostages and, in your case, family members. So the idea that that's political or in any way controversial is insane, right?
I just felt it was a really bizarre thing to say to me, given, like you say, we're posting about our family members and our friends and people we know and love that are still in those tunnels. And that is political, of course, but actually it's not the job of the police to judge politics. It's the job of the police to enforce the law. And if a victim makes a complaint, they should police without fear or favour. They shouldn't be making a judgment before it's even been pursued at all.
Yeah, and I understand you've had different responses to different types of abuse. Is that right? And I saw the examples of the abuse. It's horrible stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's what contrasted for me at the time, was that a few days before I had made that complaint, I had got a phone call from the police who were proactively pursuing a far-right troll who had said some nasty things to me, but I hadn't actually noticed it because I do get a lot of abuse and I don't read all the comments. And it was just a one-off comment, and they had noticed it and then let me know about it. So then I was able to make a complaint about that. But for this case, they just seemed to be doing the opposite. So they were just trying to dissuade and get me to back off or stop. And the contrast between the two treatments of each case made me think that there was a kind of political motivation behind it, because on the one hand, far-right hate is easier to spot, I guess, and so you don't have to be a genius to figure that out. But the hate that comes from the far left or the Islamist section of anti-Semitism can be a little bit more complicated, but actually the case that I complained about was pretty straightforward. And the guy was actually going around to Jewish people and talking about their noses. So this is a very straightforward, in a way, far-right kind of trope. So I just it became very stark for me, the difference between how they were treating both cases.
Well, we've seen this across the last 2 years, and these accusations of kind of the two-tier justice in this way. And of course, the horseshoe theory is that the far left, the far right, sometimes, and I get a lot of abuse as well, you genuinely can't tell if it's coming from some far right Nazi or a far left Nazi.
Yeah, exactly. So they are overlaying each other most of the time. So then it is even more confusing to me why the police suddenly can't understand what they're seeing. And so to me, it just feels like there's some murkiness that's being deployed around issues to do with Gaza and Israel that aren't there when you're talking about straightforward far-right hate.
Yeah. If I can ask you, do you... because obviously this is Free Speech Nation, the argument goes, of course, that whether hate crime is a crime in of itself, like threatening death to somebody and violence is one thing. Do you think that that there should be this kind of like these kind of hate crimes anyway, or is it more just the fact that it seems like when some people's feelings are hurt, the police will go all out on it, and when other people's feelings are hurt, they just tend to ignore it?
I mean, there's no such thing as a hate crime. It has to be a crime anyway. And then you have the hate element that aggravates it. So for me, it was about being harassed. The guy was being relentlessly harassing me for months, and he was, saying very hateful things, and he was deliberately setting out to cause me distress, which is a crime under malicious communications. So I think if people come forward with that complaint, and then we know that hate crimes are notoriously underreported, about 80% don't go reported at all. And if you're wanting to encourage Jewish people particularly to come forward, who are the most targeted religious minority in this country, then you need to not have those kinds of police officers giving that kind of messaging.
Yeah, I mean, did you block this person? Is that no? I mean, I get it all the time. It's horrible, and frankly, it's incredibly depressing, and it can be so relentless to it. And also, there's a point where the block button just becomes useless. People create these sock puppet accounts and start all over again. But has that deterred you at all from being an activist online?
I mean, I wear a shield of armor because I know when you engage with this kind of work, you are going to become a target of abuse. And sometimes, though, people penetrate that shield of armor. And that's when if it's like a death threat, or if it's something that I think somebody lives close by, they're a real person, and that is going to turn into something in real life, then I will report it. If I was reporting every hateful comment I got, I'd be there just doing that all day. And that account actually was suspended because of its hate. So you know, that's pretty difficult to do on X, to get your account taken away. So it's very clear that they were actually being very extreme. And to see the police kind of acting nonchalantly about it was really distressing, because we're seeing such an explosion of hate in this country toward Jews. And I think you really need authorities to step up, because one hateful person doing something horrible to you is a horrible thing. But then if you've got the mass of the system standing aside and not providing any kind of protection, then the community is really in trouble.
Yeah. Well, look, thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, please, round of applause for the campaigner, Heidi Bachmann. I will say that there's a stereotype that Jewish people are wealthy, but not all of us can afford good Wi-Fi. So that deconstructs that. A Sussex police spokesman said, "We are aware of concerns which have been raised by Ms Bachmann, and we can confirm that we have received formal complaints. Sussex Police takes a zero-tolerance approach to hate crime, and there is no place for hate across our community. Officers will review this complaint, and we are unable to comment further at this time. We urge anyone impacted by hate crime to report it to Sussex Police and remain committed to ensuring any reported offences are fully investigated with the relevant legislation and taking all factors into account." Next on Free Speech Nation, we'll be debating whether the most famous woman in Britain at the moment, Bonnie Blue, should be platformed after growing concerns over the adult star's influence on young people and society. See you in 2 minutes.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. The European heatwave will continue over the next few days, so some very high temperatures for many places. Lots of blue skies and sunshine, though, including the Canary Islands and Madeira, but the heat is most intense across Iberia, so Portugal and inland parts of Spain seeing temperatures into the low to mid-40s Celsius. Hot also across Italy, the Balkans, Greece and Turkey. And it's going to stay hot over the next few days as well. Lots and lots of sunshine, temperatures in the high 30s or low 40s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office, and a bit of a north-south split over the next 12 or so hours. Outbreaks of rain pushing across Northern Ireland and Scotland, but high pressure dominating across much of England and Wales. You can see those weather fronts moving in as we go through the next few hours, introducing outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland and Scotland, pushing its way eastwards. Rain will be hit and miss. There'll be light and patchy in places, but there is the risk of a few heavier bursts. Generally elsewhere, it's largely dry with clear spells and mist and fog patches forming. The cloud and rain just starting to edge into northern parts of England by the end of the night. So a north-south split to start Monday morning. Best of the sunshine across central and southern parts of England and Wales, but a different picture across the northern half of the UK. Fairly cloudy across Scotland, outbreaks of rain. Though there could be a few glimmers of brightness here and there, and after a damp start for Northern Ireland, the sun should start to appear here too, and a mixed picture across northern England. A few mist and fog patches first thing across the rest of England and Wales, but they will soon clear, and then there'll be plenty of hazy sunshine as we go through the day. There is the risk of 1 or 2 heavy showers or thunderstorms starting to move up from the southwest as we move through the day, but most places will stay dry, and the rain across the north will become more confined to northern Scotland as we move into the afternoon. And feeling quite hot, particularly in the sunshine, temperatures reaching around 31 Celsius for many, the mid to high 20s. And then into Tuesday again, a lovely day to come, plenty of hazy sunshine. The risk of 1 or 2 thunderstorms in places in the heat of the day, but many places dry with sunny spells, and temperatures lifting further, reaching around 32 or 33 Celsius. Probably the peak in the heat, but staying very warm through the rest of the week. Temperatures well above average. See you soon.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Channel 4's latest documentary, 1,000 Men and Me, the Bonnie Blue story, shines a spotlight on one of Britain's most extreme adult stars, famous for a stunt claiming she slept with over 1,000 men in just 12 hours. Since the documentary aired, she has featured in a range of media interviews. Some have criticised giving the adult star a platform, including our very own GB News presenter, Michelle Dewberry, labelling the move gross, expressing concerns on the influence this might have on young people in society. So, should Bonnie Blue be platformed? We are joined now by the vicar at Christchurch, New Malden, Stephen Kurt, and OnlyFans star Kaylee Evelyn. Welcome to the show. So, let's start now with you, Stephen.
Yep.
Do you... I don't want to even say if you've watched the documentary or not.
I watched it last night.
Oh, you did watch the documentary?
My preparation for being on this.
OK, well, OK, that's very honest of you. And just read his research, honey. It was research. Well, first of all, did you find the documentary interesting?
I found it really tragic, actually. I found it very, very sad because I think, I mean, if it's to be believed, the huge amount of money and the fame and the sort of notoriety and the exhilaration of that. But I don't think that is healthy or helpful, either for Bonnie Blue herself. I'm really concerned for her, but also for the people that are being influenced as well, particularly young people. There was a very disturbing scene in a school later on. And I think we've just got to... You know, freedom is a wonderful thing to have. We live in a country where we've got a lot of freedom, but we've got to use it so responsibly. And that would be my unhappiness, really, with the... I think my problem with the documentary was it was so uncritical as well. There were no interviews with people who might be offering a position on the effect on Bonnie Blue herself, perhaps later on in her life. There were no interviews with the amount of men. I mean, allegedly 1,053 men had sex with her on this particular day. And interviews with those people and them giving their sort of take, I think would have shed more light. So I was uncomfortable, particularly the way Channel 4 approached the programme.
Kayla, there's a difference between the acts themselves and also just this kind of the furore, the media furore that surrounds it. Do you think if it was done in a private or in a less... Do you think there's an issue with either of those two, or do you think that she deserves all the publicity and it should be shown out there?
I don't think she should be getting all the publicity that she's getting, because then young people watching are more likely to watch it, and then they might grow up wanting to, like, break the Guinness World Records for sleeping with, like, more people than what she's...
Sort of legitimising this as a thing to do.
Yeah, and I think the media glamorises how much people make on OnlyFans, because I've been in the top 1% and I've never made millions.
No,
me
too.
Like, yeah, me too. We should collab. No, I don't collab, really.
OK, I don't even know what collab means.
So that's like honestly, when you actually sleep with someone.
OK, well, but there's... Because it's not... And I realise that there is some hypocrisy even just talking about this, because it's sort of, in a way, it's sort of platforming her one step removed. But this idea about whether this is held up, whether this has real-world consequences by featuring her, exposing her, certainly uncritically, like you're saying, Stephen, but do you think that this is just everybody just trying to... knowing that just to mention her name would be enough to bring in viewing figures and exploit her further again?
Yeah, it's clickbait. So I've been used as clickbait before because I went viral for, like, doing OnlyFans and quitting social work. But then I've been used as clickbait by everybody on the internet, and I've had a lot of hate sent for me. And at the end of the day, she's still a person behind that. So we're all talking about it because it's a hot subject right now and it's got everybody listening and tuning in and stuff. But she's still just like one person with mental health. She probably needs someone to step forward, you know, like, and help her. Like, that's a massive cry for help, sleeping with more than 1,000 people in 12 hours. But yet everyone just wants to jump on the judging bandwagon because that's what everyone does.
Well, you say it as a cry
like
for
the
help.
sheep.
Obviously, people in her family, even her parents, are supposedly supportive and arguably exploiting her and this money
Encouraging
that she's making. Do you think that if this documentary you'd watched it had been more critical and more judgmental in a way, that would be slightly different?
Well, certainly not judgmental. I don't think we should ever be judgmental.
I do.
We're dealing with, well, I think we're dealing with human beings who we must always treat with real care. It doesn't mean we don't make judgments on issues, but judgmental implies we're condemning those people. And I want to be very, very careful about doing that. But at the centre of it is someone who, however much money is being made, and as I say, however much fame is being accrued, I just cannot believe that it's not hugely damaging for her and for the people that are being sort of influenced by. And of course, you know, there's terrible exploitation taking place, which wasn't really held to account in that documentary. As I say, the vast amount of men who were sort of, perhaps, you know, it was willingly being accepted, but that were exploiting her and other people in similar situations. They weren't really being held to account at all. And, you know, I think that's needed.
I think it's more just the fact of giving this further publicity that people are taking this issue with her appearing on different podcasts, appearing on these different shows. Do you think there are then real-world ramifications that somehow validates what she does, or do you think she's almost like a cautionary tale? It might be that people see her and see what she's done and actually are turned away from it.
I think it validates like what she's doing because, like, as a qualified social worker, I was making no money at all, and then the media kept publicising Rebecca Goodwin, and that inspired me to like start doing that sort of thing. Do you know, like years later down the line, when I had loads of people dropped into my TikTok rooms and I was encouraged to do like sexualised things, I just went along with it, thinking, oh well, I could be a star like Rebecca Goodwin, and I could be making millions, and I could be living a blessed life, and I'll never have to work a day in my life. And like,
do you think you were sold a lie then?
Yeah, definitely. Because I've been in the top 1% and I like had to lend a tenner to buy necessities yesterday.
So I think it's so important that those stories are told, where people say, well, I was spun this, you know, it seemed very, very attractive. I mean, even if people are relatively successful, I believe they are being sold a lie, that the way to fulfilment is by sort of treating themselves as a commodity. And I suppose that would be the really crucial thing for me. People aren't commodities.
It's really difficult because it's that empowering thing as a female, do you know, like, because the world is made for men. So, like, as a female, when you're born into, like, a lesser position. You're going to have, like, you could work a same job as a man in a really, like, high-paid job, but you're going to come out with less. But when you start using your body to make money, then you're taking ownership of your body back.
So, in a way, but then that sort of seems more supportive of Bonnie Blue and what she's doing.
No, because I think she's doing it really bad. So, like, I've done OnlyFans for a couple of years. I've had, like, a 6 months break in between.
What do you think the difference is between what you do and what she does, though?
I've not had sex with anyone.
OK.
Like, at all. Like, I've been completely celibate for the last 3 years. But I just, like, people are going to buy that content online, so I may as well make some money off it.
But it's still selling sex, or...
It's just me, though. Like, everybody masturbates. I just get paid for it.
OK, but it's still... Fair enough, lucky you. But the point is, it's still in the same ballpark. It's still... It's about degrees, isn't it?
No, because I've got a lot more respect for my body. Like I don't...
But you can see how someone would put you together. Obviously, there's a huge spectrum here, but still people would say that, you know, allowing yourself to be used by the male gaze and taking money for it is being put in the same category, at least.
I was in, like, a psychosis when I first started doing it. Do you know, like, I didn't actually fully realise what I was doing. I didn't think about things fully. I was, like, exposing myself on TikTok Live without thinking about it.
But then that almost makes it worse that we're encouraging that through, like, showcasing somebody like Bonnie Blue. I mean, I want to ask Stephen, do you think that the people who are interviewing her are complicit in kind of what she does? Because, of course, the more publicity she gets, the more exposure, the more money, and
I think that's the danger. I mean, you regularly hear on all shows, including GB News, well, you know, even by covering this, we're sort of giving it the oxygen of publicity. I think there's always that trap. Some of the interviews with her actually have been really searching. There's been some interviews done which ask all the right sort of questions.
And you really researched this.
Well, I wanted to make sure I didn't appear on this this evening. I mean, it's really easy for Christians to come over as judgmental and ill-informed. So I did want to make sure I knew what I was talking about to some degree. But I think, yeah, I think the really important thing is, like in this discussion this evening, that we're asking the really searching questions about it and not just sort of giving people an opportunity to sort of present things without tough questions being asked. Because that's what young people, but not just young people, everyone needs to see. They need to see really searching questions being asked of things to make sure that the glamorisation is put under proper scrutiny. Because if you can earn a load of money or be promised that you can earn a load of money really quickly, if you can become famous really quickly, that's very, very seductive. That's very, very attractive. But it doesn't deliver, I would say, ultimately ever on what it promises.
See, I made a lot of money quick, but then I got cancelled by the same people. And I did annoy them, and I was rude, you know, and I blamed them for other stuff. Like, I started, like, losing my mind and blaming... Because you talked about exploiting, like, people exploiting her. She's making them conscious decisions. She's hiring bouncers, she's hiring... Even I was exploited, and I started pointing the fingers at the wrong people and
I guess
stuff,
the other thing
and
is, of course, people,
it's a conscious decision.
watching these documentaries, whether we're partly being exploiting her as well. Anyway, look, thank you very much for joining us. Please, Reverend Stephen Kurt and OnlyFans star. Right. Next on Free Speech Nation, social media giants face huge fines for curbing free speech as JD Vance warns our country against going down the dark path of censorship. We'll be back very shortly. I just need to watch a couple of videos in the break.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Social media giants could face huge fines if they curb lawful free speech under the Online Safety Act. Ministers have warned Facebook, X and TikTok not to overreach after claims that debates on grooming gangs were censored. This comes just as US Vice President J.D. Vance gave us this warning on censorship to the West this week.
I think the entire collective West, the transatlantic relationship, our NATO allies, certainly the United States under the Biden administration, got a little too comfortable with censoring rather than engaging with a diverse array of opinions. So that's been my view. Obviously, I've raised some criticism and concerns about our friends on this side of the Atlantic. But the thing that I'd say to the people of England or to anybody else, to David, is many of the things that I worry most about were happening in the United States from 2020 to 2024. I just don't want other countries to follow us down what I think was a very dark path under the Biden administration.
I'm joined now by the chief international anchor at IMI, Hadley Gamble. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hadley, we've been following the Online Safety Act for years, actually, on this show. Then it was implemented a few weeks ago, and immediately what we saw on social media platforms was what everybody feared would happen all along, that there would be censorship. Now we're seeing the UK government come out and say, OK, social media platforms, actually, you're going to be fined if you don't adhere to these free speech. Which one is it?
Listen, I'm American, so I find it absolutely extraordinary, the lengths to which the UK government will go, essentially, to how would you put it? Make sure that the public doesn't see the full truth. I'm talking about grooming dames. I'm talking about the idea that people don't actually know who's behind spending in this government. Remember, at the end of the day, if you look at the numbers, they're chasing the 10% out of this country. That's all well and good, but those 10% pay for the welfare state that 90% of this country enjoys. So that's a really big problem. Also, the median income in this country has essentially not changed. They haven't paid more than 10, tax increases since 1990. So what I'm saying is people aren't paying their fair share, and the government isn't honest about that. So the idea that they are now going to tech companies and saying, oh, you guys better take a look and make sure that nothing gets past you that isn't freedom of speech, that seems to be essentially taking responsibility off them. And I think that's deeply unfair. And I think that's what the Vice President has pointed out.
Well, the government would say that they brought in this bill to protect children and to stop things like child pornography being watched by children. There are...
Your last segment was on Bonnie Blue. Were children protected? I'm confused.
No, the question is, would a clip go out and would it be prevented by seen by a child?
Yeah.
But
you can't put this all on tech companies.
I agree with you. That's the point. But the government would say this is why we're doing it. But then they've pushed the onus onto the tech companies, and now they're turning around and saying, actually, tech companies, you're being overly censorious, and now we're going to fine you that way. Surely the better thing would have been to maintain the system as was and add some protections. But just what they've done seems to... They're not going to find that middle ground, are they?
What's fascinating is, obviously I'm looking at this from the perspective of an American. And at the end of the day, obviously Americans are supposed to at least believe in the idea of freedom of speech. And in the last 5 years, obviously, with the Biden administration, we had an entire U.S. press corps in collusion to essentially make sure no one asked the bigger question, was this man actually in charge of the government? No one was asking it. And it was only after the election of Donald Trump that people actually said, oh, I think he was ill.
So do you think that that's why Americans seem to be focused a lot on free speech within the UK? You've got J.D. Vance. It seems to be something that he continually brings up. I'm glad that he does.
Yeah.
Do you think that they look to the UK as the original home of free speech? Or
it's about bloody time, I think, that people with sense started talking about this issue. What's on social media versus what's on television. In the United States, we have something called the FCC, which essentially can tell broadcast news networks what they can and can't show, and it doesn't apply to cable news networks. So already you've got this discrepancy about whether people can see, for example, what's happening on the ground in Gaza, what's happening in terms of the violence and what's really happening there politically. So I think that this is a big, big issue. The Vice President has certainly continued to make his feelings about this known. I think he will continue to do that. I was sitting in the audience in Munich when he discussed this live on television. And I remember European leaders absolutely apoplectic that they were being taken on about a very, very real issue, and that is honesty in public life. And certainly we haven't seen that in the United States under 4 years of Joe Biden, and we certainly, hopefully, will begin to see this under this government, but I don't know that this is necessarily the first step. I mean, who would have thought that outsourcing public decency and public dignity and truth would be outsourced to a tech company? I mean, that's not their job at the end of the day, and corporations are meant to make money. Their job is to make money, and I don't necessarily think that getting truth out there is the way to do it.
I mean, there is a positive to be spun here, whether or not the tech companies can do what the government asks. But the fact that the government are even asking this, do you think that this is down to partly because of the J.D. Vance and speaking to David Lammy, or do you think they've received a lot of criticism from all corners in the UK? Do you think this is them listening, or at least pretending to listen?
I think that probably a little bit of both. At the end of the day, this is obviously a special relationship. They want to keep that going. They know that they are in difficult waters with the Trump administration because there are so many areas in which they don't agree. However, taking a step back, and what we've seen in the news flow, obviously, big questions about the migrant crisis, big questions about public spending, the $51 billion hole. They do realize, I think, that they're going to have to start getting real with the people in the United Kingdom about the problems that are existing here, because they're going to have a revolution if they don't.
Of course. And to just say, this is, of course, mostly American companies who would be fined.
You got it.
They're going to be fined either way. Anyway, well, look, thank you so much for joining us. That is Hadley Gamble. That is the end of the first hour on Free Speech Nation. Don't go away, because there's lots more to come between now and 9 o'clock. See you in 2 minutes. Thank you. You spoke very brilliantly quickly, and you just
I didn't fail. It's my first live audience.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office, and a bit of a north-south split over the next 12 or so hours. Outbreaks of rain pushing across Northern Ireland and Scotland, but high pressure dominating across much of England and Wales. You can see those weather fronts moving in as we go through the next few hours, introducing outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland and Scotland, pushing its way eastwards. Rain will be hit and miss. There'll be light and patchy in places, but there is the risk of a few heavier bursts. Generally elsewhere, it's largely dry with clear spells and mist and fog patches forming. The cloud and rain just starting to edge into northern parts of England by the end of the night. So a north-south split to start Monday morning. Best of the sunshine across central and southern parts of England and Wales, but a different picture across the northern half of the UK. Fairly cloudy across Scotland, outbreaks of rain. Now, there could be a few glimmers of brightness here and there, and after a damp start for Northern Ireland, the sun should start to appear here too, and a mixed picture across northern England. A few mist and fog patches first thing across the rest of England and Wales, but they will soon clear, and then there'll be plenty of hazy sunshine as we go through the day. There is the risk of 1 or 2 heavy showers or thunderstorms starting to move up from the southwest as we move through the day, but most places will stay dry, and the rain across the north will become more confined to northern Scotland as we move into the afternoon. And feeling quite hot, particularly in the sunshine, temperatures reaching around 31 Celsius for many, the mid to high 20s. And then into Tuesday again, a lovely day to come, plenty of hazy sunshine. The risk of 1 or 2 thunderstorms in places in the heat of the day, but many places dry with sunny spells, and temperatures lifting further, reaching around 32 or 33 Celsius. Probably the peak in the heat, but staying very warm through the rest of the week. Temperatures well above average. See you soon.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks to see how you can win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Plenty more still to come on Free Speech Nation's week, including...
Well, when it comes to trans women in prisons, I've personally never worked in a prison, so I can't answer it.
Does reform know what a woman is?
We ain't got no troubles, no reason to complain. 'Cause here in great old Britain, we just love it when it rains.
Morning. And is it bad for adverts to tell the truth? More questions coming up from our live studio audience in just a few moments. Plus, we'll be hearing latest developments from the ongoing Giggle versus Tickle case in Australia. We'll also get stuck into another debate on whether it's homophobic to not wear rainbow-coloured football laces. And we'll get the latest from across the pond, as it looks like woke Hollywood is on the decline. But first, let's get a news update from Katie Bowen.
Good evening. Your latest news headlines from the GB newsroom. US Vice President J.D. Vance says that the US is in the process of scheduling when Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky can meet to discuss the war between their two countries. J.D. Vance went on to say during an interview with Fox News that he didn't think it would be productive for the two leaders to sit down before the scheduled summit between the US and Russia in Alaska next Friday. It follows reports from the White House last night that President Zelensky could be invited to those talks with President Trump and Vladimir Putin next week. Ukraine's allies held a security meeting hosted by Foreign Secretary David Lammy yesterday. They're calling for Zelensky's involvement in the peace talks, saying the path to peace cannot be decided without Kyiv. More than 1,100 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel illegally since the new UK-France partial returns deal came into operation during the week. GB News provisional figures show 281 arrived on 5 small boats throughout today. So far this weekend, 716 migrants have crossed from France. It takes the total who have arrived since the new returns deal was operationalised last Wednesday to 1,119. So far this year, 26,550 56 small boat migrants have made the illegal journey across the Channel. That figure is almost 9,000 ahead of the 17,638 who arrived at the same point last year. Every person arrested at the Palestine Action protest in Parliament Square yesterday has now been released from police custody, the organiser of that protest has said. The Metropolitan Police arrested 532 people at a demonstration in support of the proscribed group yesterday. Of those arrests, 522 were for displaying an item, in this case a placard, in support of a proscribed organisation. 6 arrests were made for assaults on police officers, although none were seriously injured. Charity Amnesty International described the mass arrests under UK terrorism law as deeply concerning. The Israeli Prime Minister has said that his Gaza expansion plan is the best way to end the war and that Israel has no choice but to complete the job and defeat Hamas. Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel's goal is to free Gaza in a press conference this afternoon where he outlined what he called 2 Hamas strongholds in the Strip that he intends to dismantle. Denmark, France, Greece, Slovenia and the United Kingdom called for urgent action and a surge of aid to Gaza in a joint statement today. The UN Security Council has held a meeting today to discuss the situation in Gaza. A fire has broken out on Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh with plumes of smoke visible from across the city. The Scottish Fire and Rescue Service said that crews are in attendance, while Police Scotland are advising motorists and pedestrians to avoid the area. The cause of the fire is currently unclear. The city is playing host to the Fringe Festival throughout the month, and Oasis are playing 2 nights at Murrayfield Stadium this weekend. And a 6.1 magnitude earthquake struck western Turkey earlier today, the country's disaster management authority said. Local media are saying the quake was felt across multiple provinces. Authorities say that the quake occurred at around 7:53 local time in the Balıkesir province near Istanbul, but there were no immediate reports of casualties or damage in affected areas. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More news throughout the evening.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie, and my 2 comedian friends, Francis Foster and Miriam Elliott. There we go. Well, look, let's get some more questions from our audience. Our first question is from Gavan.
Good evening. My question is, does Reform know what a woman is?
Yes, does Reform know what a woman is? Nigel Farage is facing a revolt from the Scottish wing of his party because of comments by New Justice advisor and former prisoner governor Vanessa Frake, who claims some transgender criminals should be imprisoned in women's jails. Farage later said that it was not party policy and that he had never supported men in women's prisons. Actually, just Gavan, if you just say, I know, but are you a Reform supporter? If you don't mind?
Yeah.
What did you think about it this week? Do you think that?
Well, I didn't actually see what happened actually, but I do understand why Nigel Farage might have got a bit muddled because it's so confusing out there.
OK. It's interesting. Sounds like someone's making some excuses for their friend. I mean, this is being dealt with and now it's very clear in law. The Supreme Court finding was, yes, men are men, women are women, and they have to have their own spaces. So for Reform to come out so late on this issue and so much on the wrong side of it is very surprising. Because Farage, the whole point of Farage isn't he that he knows how to read the room?
Yeah, I know. It's very weird to watch Nigel embrace his inner Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah.
You know, I was just going like, really? Is this the position you're going to take now?
Yeah.
And not only was it a fudge, it looked incredibly cowardly. Because the argument was, well, I've never worked in a prison, so I wouldn't know. And it's like, yes, but we all know that Isla Bryson or Adam Graham, a 2-time male rapist with a face tattoo reminiscent of Mike Tyson at his most demented, shouldn't be placed in a women's prison.
But their argument, of course, is that that there are some women, and as we were sort of talking about earlier, who might present much more feminine than that, who maybe have had the surgery. Right. And their argument was taken on a case-by-case basis. Now, what the Supreme Court has said is that biological men should not be in women's spaces at all. Now, put them in men's spaces, make them safe. And by the way, there are men in men's jails who are also open to be sexually exploited as well, if that's what the fear is. Yeah. But create those spaces so that trans women are safe in a male jail.
Well, maybe they should have a transgender prison. Wouldn't that be the best?
Well, or some sort of wing.
Well, we're there with other people.
But are you surprised that it seems like the Reform Party is so kind of messing this up? Because then you had other people saying, no, we'd definitely never put a male in a female jail. And then you had Anne Widdecombe, and she was saying, no, it's on a case. They still seem to be a little bit confused about all of this.
Well, it is confusing.
I don't think it's confusing at all.
I mean, it's not. I think the High Court ruling is correct, so they should just follow that.
Well, that's
you know what
it.
I mean?
Exactly.
But having said that, what I said earlier about having a separate prison, if it's that confusing for transgender people, might be the best solution.
Of course, I mean, that would be... Look,
because then everyone would have their own...
safety, but no one ever seems to, of course, think about what the safety is for women.
Right. Well, yeah, no, I think that my idea is the best.
OK. Typical woman.
Just logic. Just logic. If you want your own space, here's your own space.
Well, our next question's from Sean.
Should a teacher be fired for pointing out the hypocrisy in the Lucy Connolly case?
Yeah, so should a teacher be fired for pointing out the hypocrisy around the Lucy Connolly case? So, look, a teacher was sacked after saying Lucy Connolly's prison sentence was an example of two-tier policing in a post on social media. Simon Pearson said her comments were obviously wrong, but she should not have been jailed, and was dismissed after an internal investigation concluded that his online post had the potential to bring the NEU into disrepute. So now it's not even like he's saying, oh, I agree with anything she said. He just said, I don't think she should have gone to jail or jail for that long, even. The NEU seems very much a captured organisation. What do you think?
Well, I think it's just like the name of this programme, Free Speech Nation. He should be able to say what he wanted to say and not be criticised for it, and certainly not be sanctioned for it. So I think, all in all, they were totally in the wrong, and he was right to say what he said, because obviously there is lots of questions to be asked about the Lucy Connolly case.
Of course, I mean, we've seen many examples of people getting far lesser jail times for far morally greater crimes. That's not to say what she did was OK, but some of the how people can argue there isn't this kind of two-tier justice going on is it's a very you're reaching there.
Look, you can agree or disagree with the term two-tier justice. You can say that you don't agree, or you can agree. But the fact, and it's coming from someone who used to be a teacher and actually used to be a member of the NUT, which would then became the NEU, the National Education Union, the fact that a teacher would get fired for saying this is absolutely abhorrent. But what's really interesting is that it doesn't surprise me about the National Education Union. This is a union that when the teacher in Batley Grammar School was effectively hounded out of a job by an Islamist mob, they said and they did nothing.
Still in hiding. Still in hiding,
and they did nothing. They didn't condemn it. They didn't say anything. They did nothing. So what you're dealing with this particular organisation is an organisation utterly without spine, morals, or any type of conviction whatsoever.
And these are the people who are teaching our children.
Yeah, they're ideologically captive. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I mean that's scary.
It's very scary. I mean, all I can do is just humour my children about it.
And what, say just don't listen to your teachers?
No, listen to them, and then they say, oh, what did your teacher say to you today? And they tell me, and I go, well, blah, 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 and we make it into a joke.
The teacher said that Lucy Connolly should be locked away forever.
Tea? No, it's very Orwellian, isn't it? So imprisoning people for what they say.
Yeah, when the unions...
and not what they do. Yeah. But this is a problem. What we really need to do is dismantle the ideology.
OK.
And once you dismantle the ideology, it all falls to pieces anyway, and they can't imprison people because it doesn't make any sense.
If people can't argue their point, then you can't dismantle the ideology because they're never being challenged on it. And they're just,
they need to be
everyone's going to get fired. Right, our next question is from Jonathan.
While you're all deserving of an award, would you turn down your award if you disagreed with another nominee?
Yes, very good question. Nominated authors from an LGBTQ+ literary award have asked to be removed from the shortlist because of the opinions of a fellow nominee. They are protesting against John Boyne's novel being included among the nominees of the Polari Prize. He recently said they rejected the term cisgendered and has been labelled as a transphobic, with many saying this goes against the values of the award. This is incredible. He's a very famous writer. He wrote Boy with in the Striped Pyjamas, and when you have a bunch of the other long-listed writers just saying, well, we can't be associated with him, he says that we shouldn't use the word cis, and actually even one of the judges pulled out as well.
Yeah.
This is, again, just another institution showing how ideologically captured they are.
Well, it does, but also people are allowed to pull out. If you don't want to appear on the same...
Not talking about Bonnie Blue anymore.
But... yeah, I think she's had her fair share of pullouts, you're right. And also the opposite. But, but I genuinely think, look, if you feel that this somehow compromises your reality, that is you are well within your rights. But I think what this shows more broadly is a problem that is inherent within publishing, which is, again, another institution which is completely captured. And the fact that... what I don't understand is we have had so many brilliant artists through the years who've been, quite frankly, appalling people. And now, because we have someone who refuses to use the term cisgendered, that is deemed to be beyond the pale, to me is, quite frankly, ridiculous.
Well, this is it. I mean, what he says is that he just says, you know, you can use it, but I don't like being termed, I'm just a male, I don't like the label. And somehow that's enough for him to be labelled as this bigot.
Yeah.
It's concerning, Miriam, when a prize that is to set up to celebrate LGBT or gay people. I mean, is this another thing that needs to be separated here? Do we need more prizes just for gay authors and bi authors and celebrate it from the TQ+, or from the ideology?
I don't like grouping people together on these bases. I know this, maybe that's a reactionary take, but shouldn't it just be generally talented people?
Well, you should, but then there are women's novels and there are...
It's all this categorisation.
No, but I need the categorisation. Like, I need, like, a sort of Jewish Bald Award. I might actually win something.
Yeah, well, Alan Yantop, sadly, is no longer with us, mate, so...
I'm moving up.
You've gone up the rungs.
What I'm saying is, it's... Yeah, as Francis says, you can leave the platform if it's really uncomfortable for you to share it, but it does show a kind of sense of, you know, not letting people disagree with you, kind of, you know, wanting almost an intolerance, yeah. Because I would share a platform with anyone with other beliefs. I often do.
That doesn't validate them in and of itself.
Of course not. But it's like saying everyone has to have this kind of uniformity of the way we think, the way we categorise everything. So that, to me, is not good.
All right, our final question is from Melvin.
Good evening. Is it bad for adverts to tell the truth?
Yeah, bad for adverts to tell the truth. This is the CEO of crypto company Coinbase has claimed that their advert depicting a broken Britain has been banned by TV networks. Let's take a quick look.
We ain't got no troubles, no reason to complain. Cause here in great old Britain, we just love it when it rains.
Morning.
We're cosy here at home,
Even though it's not our own. But wait a few more years and who can say? Everything is just fine. Everything is grand. Your life can get no better when you're living by the letter in this pleasant land.
Melvin, what do you think is wrong with that advert, showing that on television? Seems pretty honest to me.
It is honest, but is it bad? I think it might be bad for the company making it because it's political. And in this day and age, if you're on the wrong side of the road, you could get hurt.
Well, is it political to point out that our society or parts of our society are failing? I mean, this is obviously, I think it's a very well made ad.
I mean, to me, it looks just like like a documentary of a bit of singing, mate. If you go to South London, that's basically what life is like.
Yeah, I mean...
I've lived in Croydon, don't look at me like that. That's why I've lived there. Yeah. I've escaped.
But why are they banning this advert?
Because I've got no sense of humour. I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah, it's funny, it's well made, it makes a point.
People that are ideologically captive don't have a sense of humour.
No, I think we know that.
So they don't like anything that reveals any kind of truth.
No, I guess...
So that just makes sense.
Fair enough. Well, speaking of adverts, you've got some shows coming up.
Yeah, I've got a show with the wonderful Leo Kearse
in Croydon.
In Croydon, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I grew up near Croydon and I left and I've never been back, and that's the thing I'm most proud of. But come to the show. Okay. Come to the show. It's in Soho. So much nicer than Croydon.
Fair enough. And you got some books coming out?
I've got a book coming out in October. Yes.
Yeah, OK, there we go.
And it's called I Saw an Art Fair. It's a critique.
OK, well, look, now hopefully those adverts won't be banned.
Hopefully my book won't get banned.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Hopefully it will.
We'll get loads of publicity, yeah.
Right, next on Free Speech Nation, I'll be joined by the woman at the centre of a landmark ruling on the definition of a woman in Australia, who has lashed out at the national broadcaster for failing to cover her story. She is a real hero. You don't want to miss it. This is Free Speech Nation, only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News. You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You cannot broken record, select week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. The woman at the centre of a landmark ruling on the definition of woman in Australia has lashed out at the ABC for failing to cover the story. Giggle for Girls founder Sal Grover challenged last year's federal court judgment that she indiscriminately discriminated against trans woman Roxanne Tickle by barring her from the female-only social media app. The appeal gained global attention as J.K. Rowling even offered her support to Ms. Grover, and yet she says the national broadcaster did not cover her appeal once. We are joined now by the founder of Giggle for Girls, Sal Grover. Sal, thank you so much for joining us. Doubly so because, first of all, you've had an incredibly tough week, I imagine, an incredibly tough few years, and it's also 4 a.m. or something in Australia right now.
It's 5 a.m., but don't worry, I am business on top, but I'm wearing my pajamas and I will be going back to bed after this. It's all good.
So how are you feeling now that this next part of this incredible journey you've been on is now over?
I'm actually feeling the best I have felt about it all in 3.5 years. I think my legal team did a great job last week. We went into the courtroom with law. We were armed with law and truth, and the other side came in with gender ideology. It was all about feelings and identity and basically trying to make the argument that because a man was wearing a V-neck T-shirt, I should have known that he had the gender identity of woman. I mean, it was quite madness. Whereas we were able to very logically and calmly explain that just because gender identity has been put into law in Australia doesn't actually mean that women's rights mean nothing. There's no evidence of the fact that Parliament had any intention to just completely ignore or destroy women. This is just wishful thinking from the gender ideologues. So I'm feeling great, but it was crazy. I mean, beyond the claim of trying to say this male person is a woman, they're trying to punish me for calling him, and basically doing what we all know that the gender ideologues do, which is just burn the witch, punish you as much as possible to scare anyone else from ever speaking out about this issue.
I mean, what seems one of the elements that seems insane to me is how in the UK and other parts of the world, I was following along. Many people have been following this because this is about what is a woman. This is for a whole huge country, for a whole continent, really. So yet your own media still seems to just ignore it.
Completely. It's disheartening in one sense, but completely unsurprising in the other. I have argued for a long time that Australia is one of the most captured countries in the world, maybe comparable only to Canada. In the UK, one of the things that has very much helped the women fighting this issue is that you have quite a robust media. It's flawed, nothing's perfect. But while for a long time we've always criticised sort of the tabloid nature of a lot of the UK media, but it really worked in this instance because at least they're willing to publish anything and it doesn't matter how controversial it is. We don't have that in Australia. It's a very small media pool. One of our biggest media organisations is the ABC, which you compare that to, say, the BBC. And if you're an Australian who only gets their news from the ABC, you have no idea that last week the biggest women's rights case in modern history happened. They literally did not cover it once. They had covered it last year when it was Tickle taking me to court, because this was an appeal, so it was effectively me taking him to court. And so they didn't want that narrative out there. But last year when they covered it, they had headlines saying, female app CEO harassed trans woman for 2 years, court heard. And it's like, I don't know this guy. He took me to court. I've just been crowdfunding for 2 years, but they would class me calling him he as harassment. But as I've always maintained, he is a he. What he wants to call himself is his own business. He's welcome to call himself whatever he wants. And there's not a woman on this planet who would have to take me to court to use a female-only space I created. It takes a man for this case to exist. So, it's the truth.
Well, the truth, you say that our media is better, but I've got to be honest, there was a very frustrating few years in this country where it was just radio silence, and then it was kind of like one or two pieces came out, and then it was like the dam being burst. Do you think that there's a chance with this case that is what's going to happen now?
I think in general, that's how it's going to move. Australia's sort of about 18 months behind the UK on this issue, and so it's probably going in that direction. I just think sort of both the arrogance and the ignorance of a lot of our media class in this country are just going to hold on and go down with the ship, because they're so firmly in the bubble. Like, it's crazy. So whether they're going to move, when they're going to move from that, you don't know. Some never will. Look, I'm optimistic overall. I think that gender ideology can't possibly survive because it's so preposterous. No one has an instinct for this nonsense. And so it was always doomed to fail. It's just like, we've got to obviously stop the carnage along the way. But yeah, I mean, as I said at the beginning, I'm overly optimistic about the whole thing. It's just utterly painful while you're in the thick of it, as anyone would know. So the likes of Sandy Peggy or Isabella, now the woman in Brazil who's been punished for quite extremely for all of this. They just, anyone who is on the other side does not want any dissent. So the ones of us who have, we get punished, as an example.
Yeah, I mean, I read something horrible about the price that you've paid physically and obviously emotionally like this. Do you now get a chance to rest? Is it, when are we going to find out the judgment?
The mental and sort of emotional toll has been huge, but it's also the financial. I mean, this case has been incredibly expensive, and we're over $1 million into it right now. If it goes to the High Court, it will be another $1 million. I've had to crowdfund the entire thing. He's coming after me for hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages, claiming harm, and I have to still raise that money. And so it doesn't really stop. We'll get a decision by December. It's usually between sort of 3 to 6 months, but 4 months is sort of splitting the difference there. And the courts usually like to sort of have these things wrapped up before they break for Christmas. So it's still 4 months to raise a lot of money to pay for knowing what a woman is, which is gigglecrowdfund.com if anybody does want to support us, because this is the biggest women's rights case in Australian modern history. The other side was completely funded by both taxpayers and government grants.
Well, I was going to say, you're actually fighting the government, really, aren't you? I mean, that's who you had in court against you.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the Australia Sex Discrimination Commission, which is a branch of the government, they intervened in the case fully on the side of gender identity. It was quite mad what they were saying. Last week, or just before the hearing, they had done just a sort of a random another submission where they had decided it was time to announce that trans women, aka men, needed pregnancy protection in law, which think that one through for a second. So they were basically arguing that men require legal protections that they don't at all need, while women do not require legal protections that we do need, aka female spaces are actually being defined accurately in law. It's absolute madness. So yeah, I mean, it's Giggle versus the government, essentially, which is not something I ever thought was going to happen when I just wanted to create an online space for women.
Well, Sal, you know you're a hero to many around the world. And thank you so much for coming and joining us, especially so early, and good luck with the case. And please, audience, if you can, contribute to this fund. It's incredibly worth it. Thank you. Founder of Giggle for Women and fighter for women, Sal Grover. Thank you. So, come back on Free Speech Nation in a moment, because after causing mass controversy over the past 8 years, the Premier League has finally ditched its Rainbow campaign in partnership with the LGBT charity Stonewall. We'll be debating, is it homophobic not to wear rainbow laces? You don't want to miss it. See you in a couple of minutes.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews travel destinations forecast.
Hello. The European heatwave will continue over the next few days, so some very high temperatures for many places. Lots of blue skies and sunshine, though, including the Canary Islands and Madeira, but the heat is most intense across Iberia, so Portugal and inland parts of Spain seeing temperatures into the low to mid-40s Celsius. Hot also across Italy, the Balkans, Greece and Turkey. And it's going to stay hot over the next few days as well. Lots and lots of sunshine, temperatures in the high 30s or low 40s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office, and a bit of a north-south split over the next 12 or so hours. Outbreaks of rain pushing across Northern Ireland and Scotland, but high pressure dominating across much of England and Wales. You can see those weather fronts moving in as we go through the next few hours, introducing outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland and Scotland, pushing its way eastwards. Rain will be hit and miss. There'll be light and patchy in places, but there is the risk of a few heavier bursts. Generally elsewhere, it's largely dry with clear spells and mist and fog patches forming. The cloud and rain just starting to edge into northern parts of England by the end of the night. So a north-south split to start Monday morning. Best of the sunshine across central and southern parts of England and Wales, but a different picture across the northern half of the UK. Fairly cloudy across Scotland, outbreaks of rain. Though there could be a few glimmers of brightness here and there, and after a damp start for Northern Ireland, the sun should start to appear here too, and a mixed picture across northern England. A few mist and fog patches first thing across the rest of England and Wales, but they will soon clear, and then there'll be plenty of hazy sunshine as we go through the day. There is the risk of one or two heavy showers or thunderstorms starting to move up from the southwest as we move through the day, but most places will stay dry, and the rain across the north will become more confined to northern Scotland as we move into the afternoon. And feeling quite hot, particularly in the sunshine, temperatures reaching around 31 Celsius for many, the mid to high 20s. And then into Tuesday again, a lovely day to come, plenty of hazy sunshine. The risk of one or two thunderstorms in places in the heat of the day, but many places dry with sunny spells, and temperatures lifting further, reaching around 32 or 33 Celsius. Probably the peak in the heat, but staying very warm through the rest of the week. Temperatures well above average. See you soon.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. Premiership Rugby has now joined football in severing ties with the LGBT charity Stonewall and its Rainbow Laces campaign. Earlier this week, The Telegraph revealed that the Premier League has ended an 8-year partnership with the charity after a meeting with all 20 club captains on Thursday. This means players will not wear rainbow laces or armbands this coming season. The campaign was a source of controversy last season as Crystal Palace captain Mark Gay was formally reprimanded by the FA after he wrote "I love Jesus" on his armband. Ipswich captain Sam Morsey also faced criticism. He refused to wear it because of his religious beliefs. So, is it homophobic not to wear rainbow laces? Joining me now to debate this is the Chief Executive Officer of LGBT Alliance, Kate Barker, and journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth. Welcome to the show, both of you. So I'll start with you, Kate. Do you see this as a positive step that actually take this kind of politicisation out of football and just make it about the game?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's failed catastrophically. I mean, there are 619 Premier League players signed up who, and out of those, not a single one of them has come out as gay or bi. So I think we can see that it's an absolute disaster, and I think it's right that we look at it and think, you know, why should that be? You know, what's happened? Why is it? This programme, created by Stonewall, seems to have been really successful in alienating gay people. It's kind of pushed them back into the closet. So I think that's worth investigating. And my feeling is, gay rights used to be about saying, do you know what, we're just the same as you. The only thing that's different about us is who we sleep with. And the LGBTQ plus lobby, completely shaped and formed by Stonewall, it seems to me that its raison d'etre is to promote the idea that LGBT people are a bit weird or, you know, a bit odd, that they're very fragile, that they're very vulnerable. All of these sort of cluster of personality types. And the thing is, if you're a footballer, what you value is resilience, and you value the ability to play with other people as a team. So it's quite understandable that faced with this kind of Stonewall presentation of rainbow laces and what it all stood for, that not many footballers want to put their hand up and say, yeah, I'm going to be the guy that's bursting into tears because we don't do pronouns before the half-time talk. So I just think the two things are so absolutely out of kilter with what people actually want. And I think that's spreading beyond sport and into wider society as well, where we see this kind of... people are a bit fed up with the exceptionalism of these kind of campaigns. You know, they're fed up with the idea that some people deserve privileges rather than parity. I think that's what we saw with rainbow laces, and it just didn't fit. People didn't like the players didn't like it, and the wider public don't like it either.
It's an interesting point. Do you think that the wearing of rainbow laces indicates some level of privilege?
No.
Do you think it's unnecessary?
I don't think it's about privilege, it's about visibility, and that visibility is to try and overcome the kind of homophobia and sexism and the racism historically that has been prevalent in football stands, as I'm sure it is in rugby, though I suspect it's rather more common in football than any other sport. You know, we used to have a huge problem with racism and the kind of stand-up to racism movements that came out and that were forthright and that had players holding banners, making statements, football clubs having explicit policies. We know that had a significant impact on people not thinking they can, you know, get leathered and shout racist abuse.
So do you think this has had an impact here? Because as Kate points out, no Premier League footballers have come out and said, I'm gay.
Well, it's an interesting measure of whether it's a success. It's not what I thought of as a judgment. I mean, we hear lots of rumours that there are Premier League players that are in the closet. I suspect there's many more reasons why they're still in the closet than just that. And actually it tells you, it speaks volumes about the casual homophobia, the idea that men have to look a certain way in men's football, that explains why those people haven't come out if we're to assume they exist. Though I suspect there are far fewer gay people in football than general, because school sports aren't the most inviting place for gay and lesbian kids.
But rainbow laces, is that really what's going to do it? Is that going to really make any impact? Or could the argument go that actually it has a negative impact? It can make people feel resentful?
No, I don't think that. I think the people that feel genuine resent probably have a problem with LGBT people in the first place. What I'd say is
But you don't think there's a difference between, I'm sure there are homophobic people or people maybe who are against gender ideology, which is arguably what the laces can also represent, but it doesn't mean that or maybe there are just people who think, you know what, let's just let the footballers be a footballer and not actually focus on this stuff. It's secondary to what we actually are here for.
It's not. Although there will be some footballers in the closet, quite possibly, in a way it's not really about the footballers, it's about them being leaders to say that this kind of abuse isn't acceptable. It's about what happens in the stands that doesn't always get picked up. And Rainbow Laces was visible, it was backed by, Paddy Power, and so what it did was it set a precedent and expectation from people that those fans admire and companies they use, saying that you can't behave like this in the stands. And I think you'd struggle to find a gay football fan that hasn't witnessed abuse or been on the receiving end of it if people can tell.
No one's saying that homophobia...
And that's why rainbow laces mattered.
But would the idea that these laces would go on forever? Is that the idea that they themselves, this is the solution, as opposed to calling people out for homophobia?
I think the laces are very performative. And if you have a look at, what's actually on offer to a club when they sign up, there's really very little of it beyond that. But also, it's not just in the Premier League. So Rainbow Laces was in grassroots football as well. And then clearly I had a look at the website today. The first thing they talk about is make sure that your club is trans inclusive, which what we know is, let's get the middle-aged men in playing on the women's team. The middle-aged men that aren't good enough to pay for the men's team. And taking the laces in isolation is one thing. But what people are really objecting to is this notion of, as I say, of exceptionalism, that somehow LGBT people, they think that means gay people, I would say it's a broader umbrella, are somehow uniquely marginalised, you know, more marginalised than a disabled person, for example, that might want to go to football or what might want to participate in football. And I think people are just absolutely fed up with it, not just in sport. Gay people are pretty fed up with it as well, which is why you're seeing this, you know, significant split between LGBT people and TQ plus identities. People recognise that there are differences and that people deserve their own representation. I mean, there's some interesting statistics around that, though. The recent YouGov survey said that, and it was a cheering figure, 77% of people said it was really important that trans people are not discriminated against. So that's great. So I think people are generally tolerant.
Don't want to be bigots.
They absolutely don't. But by the same token, 78% of people said there should not be trans women in women's sports, and only 18% said yes. So there you have it. People are tolerant, but what they don't want is unfairness. Unfairness is anathema to sports people, and underlying this whole programme, that's what's coming through, unfairness.
Well, do you think it is unfair that the LGBTQ people have their own laces? I mean,
it's not so much just the laces.
Or do you think that there would ever be a point where we go, now bigotry has been dealt with and now finally we can just wear black laces?
Well, that would be a good point to get to. The evidence suggests it's not where we're at, and if gay footballers feeling comfortable
so
to come out...
So do you think there are other things that can be done, though? Why has it got to be about these laces?
But I think the laces are just a very effective campaign. It's a visible campaign, and it's backed by, you know, some of the most famous and adored footballers, so it sets an expectation. You know, you talk about people being vocal. Well, when people are in the stands shouting homophobic abuse and chants that are laced with sexism and homophobia and sometimes still racism, that is visible and that intimidates people who want to go and enjoy that sport. And so it's about countering their visibility.
I agree with that, but I just think that laces are not necessarily the best way of doing it. Banning those people from attending matches and making a big deal out of that. That's going to be the way to deal with that kind of big... But
I suspect they are banned. But
you know what, I've got to be honest, I've been
to
a lot of football matches and you're not seeing this level of homophobia. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it seems like a much rarer thing.
I have to say, I went to see the England team at Wembley, and it was a completely different environment. It was so much more welcoming, and I think about half that team is lesbian, as far as I'm aware, so that helps.
I was there as well. So thank you very much, the Chief Executive Officer of LGBT Alliance, Kate Barker, and journalist broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth. Big round of applause. Next on Free Speech Nation, Hollywood star Gina Carano has accepted a settlement from Disney after her dismissal for what the company originally called abhorrent opinions on social media. Is Hollywood finally turning the tide on woke? Find out after the break. This is Free Speech Nation, only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Oh, yes, I've got a bit of an update on this. So you know Steve Jobs' daughter is getting married this weekend. We talked about it earlier on in the week.
Yes,
Eve Jobs.
They're hiring the entire Cotswolds.
Yeah, we've got more details now.
Oh.
They're taking over the village of Great Chew. And apparently the budget is said to be $5 million. Could be a lot more, though.
$5 million?
Yeah,
because the papers were saying 50 million the other day.
$5 million could be higher. For them. But the high-end guest list includes Kamala Harris, Bono, the Kardashians and Princess Beatrice. Rumours as well that David Cameron's been invited.
Oh. But they can't know all these people.
They've invited 500 people. So it's a big wedding.
It's just like...
Apparently the village is in lockdown.
No, it will be.
Yeah, and they're going to Estelle Manor afterwards, which is a big, like, Jacobean manor house in the Cotswolds. Oh. And they've got sniffer dogs out already.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Of all those people, I bet they only know Bono.
But didn't you think...
Everybody knows Bono, don't they? Well, no, but at least he was involved with Apple. He must have known Steve Jobs.
Was he involved with Apple?
Yeah, because they had all the... Do you remember they had the U2 exclusive iPods and
Oh,
things
of course. Yeah.
So he must have known. So he probably knew her as a kid.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to give away Apple products.
Probably.
Oh, yeah. You know the
goodie bag. You'll get a goodie bag.
At the end, yeah, like an iPad or
So you've got a goodie bag at your wedding.
Or a MacBook. I know, but you had the free-flowing rosé, which you don't drink.
I don't drink.
Anyway. Did you not try the non-alcoholic version?
Of rosé?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was one.
I covered all fronts.
I didn't know there was one.
Oh, well, you missed out.
I had some non-alcoholic beers.
Well, good. I did provide.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Gina Carano has received a settlement following her controversial firing from Disney's The Mandalorian and thanked Elon Musk for funding it. The American actress had previously never hid her conservative views and was canned from the series in 2021 after comparing the persecution of people for their political views to how Jews were treated during the Holocaust. The dismissal followed a social media campaign, #FireGinaCarano, which ended in Disney condemning her comments as abhorrent and unacceptable. Her settlement this week included a rather humiliating statement from the company saying they look forward to identifying opportunities to work together with Ms. Carano in the near future. We are joined now by the host of Hollywood in Toto podcast, Christian Toto. Welcome to the show. Christian, is the wheel turning?
It's about time. It's overdue, but change is happening. Even the New York Times over the weekend talked about how woke is on the run in Hollywood. We've seen multiple examples of just that. We've had blockbusters like the Fantastic Four film and Superman, which weren't woke at all and actually were a little bit pro-conservative in mild ways. We've seen the Sex and the City reboot go the way of the 8-track tape. That one was woke on steroids, didn't last too long. And other examples as well. But I think this Gina Carano case is really important because she was unfairly dismissed. There's no doubt about it. There are other Disney employees who have said far, far worse, and they didn't get so much as a rap on the knuckles. So, it was a terrible case. I'm glad she came out on top. I'm glad they settled. But I also want to see her working again because she doesn't deserve to be dismissed just for having views that are really pretty mainstream.
Well, that's it. You say pretty mainstream, but in Hollywood, which arguably is still a very progressive place, opinions like hers, just to even say that she's a Republican, seems to be enough. Certainly historically, in 2021 was kind of peak woke, I guess. But do you think now that this is an ideological change from these companies? Or do you think that they're just realizing that they just have to suck it up? Because otherwise they're going to be sued with Elon Musk's money.
Well, that's part of it. I think the bigger issue here is that, for the most part, woke doesn't sell. When you go into a story, into a project, and you push the ideology, when you have the messaging out in front as opposed to the entertainment value, often it isn't very entertaining. And we've seen that again and again and again. So these projects come, these projects go, people are not interested. And I think there's even within the Hollywood ecosystem, a sense of exhaustion, a sense that, hey, this kind of storytelling is not what the public wants. So I think that's why you're seeing some of the shows being canceled, some of the ratings drooping, and some big studios going in different directions where they're going to pull back on that kind of storytelling and just go back to the old school method, which worked pretty well.
No, of course. I mean, but that's, I guess, the content side of things. But the power that casting directors seem to hold within the industry. In the UK, I don't know if you saw, but there was a casting agent talking about the actors in the Harry Potter, not the TV series, but in the audio book, and condemning them. You've had then actors coming out who are on that series and saying, oh, I'm really sorry for being on. So it still seems like everybody's still desperate to virtue signal what a great person they are and how that they're an ally of whatever it is.
No, you're right. It's still there, but it is diminishing, and you're able to see examples of people just holding their ground and not succumbing. In America, there's been this debate over Sydney Sweeney, a beautiful young actress starring in a jeans commercial, and there was this whole hue and cry that what she was doing and talking about good genes versus DNA, that was, Nazi propaganda. It was absurd on the surface. And rather than her apologizing or the company apologizing, they both either stayed quiet or stood their ground. So I think you're getting more examples of that. But you're right, there is still fear within the creative community. They've got to do the right thing. They've got to say the right things. And if they don't, there is this sort of you have to apologize. You have to kind of say a certain hostage-style apology to get back in Hollywood's good graces. So that hasn't gone away. It does overlap with ideology. If you're right of center in Hollywood, it's still a burden to bear, which is obviously a terrible thing. You should be able to think the way you want to think. But things are improving. Sylvester Stallone came out a few months back as a pro-Trump supporter. He never would have done that years ago.
And also, recently you saw Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. I think they're saying that they're going to be working on projects together that don't fit into that narrative that's been going on in Hollywood for the last couple of years and make sort of manly movies, I guess is what they're saying. So it does seem that if you are a big enough star, that you can actually push back against this ideology. And of course, I think, as we know, these companies, they just want to make money at the end, don't they? Well, seemingly.
They do. And I think that's finally coming. There's a realization there that this is just not a winning effort. And, listen, Gina Carano was not a big star. She could have just played by the rules. She could have just clammed up or put her pronouns in her bio like they told her she should do. She stood her ground. It cost her dearly. I mean, she hasn't really worked aggressively in years beyond a few minor projects. So she wasn't that big A-list star, but she wanted to kind of stand up for herself, and she ended up winning. So it took a while, took courage for sure, but I think that's an encouraging sign. And maybe other stars will say, hey, I can say what I want to say. I'm not being mean or cruel or divisive. These are just my views, and they're shared by a lot of people. And why can't I say that? So that would be good overall for the culture, even beyond Hollywood.
Well, I loved her in The Mandalorian, and the ironic thing is, of course, that once they did that, the show went to pieces. Do you think that she will actually be making a very quickly just something with Disney, or do you think that that's just all for show?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I mean, it certainly would be great PR for Disney to go in that direction. She's obviously has a good fan base. It'd be a great story of healing.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That's the host of Hollywood in Toto podcast, Christian Toto. Thank you so much for joining us. And also, thank you for joining us for Free Speech Nation. If you want to join us live in the studio, be part of our wonderful audience, you can. Please go to gbnews.com/tickets. Stay tuned for the brilliant Ben Leo tonight with Alex Armstrong. That is next. And that is all that we have time for this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Thank you.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office, and a bit of a north-south split over the next 12 or so hours. Outbreaks of rain pushing across Northern Ireland and Scotland, but high pressure dominating across much of England and Wales. You can see those weather fronts moving in as we go through the next few hours, introducing outbreaks of rain across Northern Ireland and Scotland, pushing its way eastwards. Rain will be hit and miss. There'll be light and patchy in places, but there is the risk of a few heavier bursts. Generally elsewhere, it's largely dry with clear spells and mist and fog patches forming. The cloud and rain just starting to edge into northern parts of England by the end of the night. So a north-south split to start Monday morning. Best of the sunshine across central and southern parts of England and Wales, but a different picture across the northern half of the UK. Fairly cloudy across Scotland, outbreaks of rain. Though there could be a few glimmers of brightness here and there, and after a damp start for Northern Ireland, the sun should start to appear here too, and a mixed picture across northern England. A few mist and fog patches first thing across the rest of England and Wales, but they will soon clear, and then there'll be plenty of hazy sunshine as we go through the day. There is the risk of one or two heavy showers or thunderstorms starting to move up from the southwest as we move through the day, but most places will stay dry, and the rain across the north will become more confined to northern Scotland as we move into the afternoon. And feeling quite hot, particularly in the sunshine, temperatures reaching around 31 Celsius for many, the mid to high 20s. And then into Tuesday again, a lovely day to come, plenty of hazy sunshine. The risk of 1 or 2 thunderstorms in places in the heat of the day, but many places dry with sunny spells and temperatures lifting further, reaching around 32 or 33 Celsius. Probably the peak in the heat, but staying very warm through the rest of the week. Temperatures well above average. See you soon.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
We want to send some of those monthly financial stresses packing this August with your chance to be mortgage or rent-free for 12 whole months. We'll give you a cash lump sum that equals 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to an amazing £20,000. We'll also throw in an extra £5,000 on top of that for good measure. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.